Hello, very quick. I'm getting ready to come home from a wedding. I'm almost home, so I have limited time here. But first of all, thank you for the Mandela thing. I was really impressed with how we handled that, and I'm not trying to flatter anybody, but we walked through a series of videos that I felt pressed to keep pushing the point about something that's very divisive. And yet I didn't see a single troll. I didn't see any insults going back and forth. Even though there were disagreements, I saw respect on every side. I didn't see people calling each other heretics and insulting each other's intelligence. I mean, it was just really quite a testimony, because you know how it is out there, and I mean, it's not always like that, and I was expecting a lot worse. So that's pretty cool. I think maybe the Lord's even pleased with us on that one. Okay, now the other thing I was thinking about is this is going to seem out of the blue, but I was watching Barry Scarborough, and he was talking about how Zero Hedge was talking about how Pompey believes that Trump is kind of set forth by God to deliver Israel from Iran, and they were talking about rapture eschatology, and is there an apocalyptic evangelical agenda from these rapture watchers who are pushing foreign policy, and should we be concerned, Well, I kind of triggered my memory that Missler did a series a few years back on the Antichrist from different perspectives and the different religions and what are their expectations about their Messiah. And I remember the Islamic version. This has always kind of impressed me, that the Islamic version of their Messiah is got two people in it. It's the Mahdi and Jesus. Now, we know that there's the Antichrist and the false prophet, right? In their version, they believe Jesus is a prophet. He's not the Son of God, but they believe he's still alive, and he's coming back with the Mahdi. Now, to me, that sounds like the false prophet and the beast. Now, the vindication of their Mahdi is that he and Jesus are going to defeat somebody called the Dajjal, D-J-A-A-L, who is their version of the Antichrist. And he matches the description in a lot of ways of what we would think of as the Antichrist, this big leader, this deceiver, this blah, 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 right? And he represents the West. Well, so that is all, you got to understand, Islam and Catholicism are basically the two aspects, the sun and moon aspects or the moon and sun aspects of the Chaldean mystery religion, or the Babylonian mystery religion. Babylon, which is Masonic, descending from Nimrod, okay? And they have an agenda for putting their person on the throne who is literally Satan's seed, and will likely be connected directly to Nimrod, which I'll get to in a second, but that's Baal. He's an anti-replacement Christ, similar to Christ, but absolutely different in his nature. There's a false trinity behind it, and both Islam and Catholicism have their roots in this stuff. Anyway, and they're destined as the sun and moon aspects of that religion to merge. Well, they believe, the Islamic version believes, that their Mahdi and Jesus will come and destroy the Dajjal, and that will be their rise to power. Now, the Dajjal is sort of like I said, their version of the Antichrist, who comes first. Well, the Dajjal doesn't really fit into our eschatology, because in the true biblical eschatology, there are the Antichrist and the false prophet. There's not a third person. So you wonder, what is all this? And you have to understand that they're trying to imitate prophecy. The whole Babylonian thing is an imitation of prophecy through manipulation, and it's Satan trying to orchestrate the way God orchestrates, but he can't do it on the level God does. But he's got his fingers into everything. And through these secret societies and everything, he's got these bloodlines and all that stuff. If you're into that, I'm not going to get into it all here, but they will bring about an Antichrist appearance, who will be the biblical man of sin, coming with all power and lying signs and wonders, if possible he could deceive you in the elect, right? We know that. Well, he's going to come spectacularly, and he's going to come presenting himself as the world Messiah, including Christ, including the popular conceptions of the Christian Messiah. He's going to look like Jesus and everybody. You know, he's going to fulfill all of the aspirations of the world religions. Not the true biblical hope, but the actual institutional world religions. And he's going to do it in such a spectacular way. So if they're planning on having their own version of the Messiah coming, then they need a Antichrist for him to defeat, right? So that if it matches most of the models, it's got to fulfill people's expectations that whoever this is will destroy an evil world ruler first. So that means that if this is true, that we can expect a false tribulation before the real tribulation, and a false Antichrist defeated by the true Antichrist. Now, I'm only saying this as it is speculation. God can frustrate any of these plans, but I say it to be aware, because clearly the Trump administration, surrounded by these NAR prophets, who are all false prophets, they are Baal worshipers, really, most likely. They're Jezebel's children. They and Israel have been doing everything they can to make it so that all their strategic moves on the world stage are linked in the evangelical mind to biblical prophecy. That's deliberate. It's a deliberate. They're not accidentally fulfilling prophecy without knowing it. They know. I believe they know exactly what they're doing, and all the world is a stage, and they are acting out a scenario that the Christians, for the most part, especially the Left Behind version of the Christians, who they haven't read biblical prophecy directly, but they've watched a lot of YouTube videos or read Left Behind and have a caricature cartoon version of the story without a lot of the prophetic detail and discernment, and they may not be saved in a lot of cases. I think that they want to fulfill those people's expectations, and then when they do have an apocalyptic war where millions are killed, they're going to pin it on the evangelicals. I don't know if it's Trump's penthouse apartment was a shrine to Apollo, and Apollo is a rendition of Tammuz, who is the son of Nimrod, who is supposedly the reincarnation of Nimrod, and it is Apollyon that will arise out of the abyss in Revelation 9 and inhabit the beast as the beast that rises out of the abyss. That's Apollyon. That's Apollo. So you might think he's a Christian. I haven't seen any evidence that he's a Christian. I haven't seen anything where he professes a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. I don't see the testimony of Christ with him. He could do it in secret. Who am I to judge? But I do believe that all of this is masonically orchestrated, that it's not real fulfillment of prophecy, although it's happening right in line with it all. And so I'm wary. It could be fulfillment of prophecy, but I'm also quite aware that these guys are playing out something on a world stage, and what they're doing is they're trying to manage world opinion, to bring society to a coalescence of ideas that ultimately will be no good for the Christians. The evangelicals are going to suffer out of this. And I knew when Trump got elected that his purpose, all the news articles, the words surrounding him was chaos, chaos, chaos. And I just knew that he was going to be an archetype to stigmatize Christians and all the things we believe, and associate these things with this person who's bringing the chaos, which will eventually yield to order out of chaos, which will be the New World Order and all that. So that's his purpose. His purpose is to bring the whole thing down, I believe. Maybe disagree with me. These are kind of opinions, but the part I know to say is that if there is a pre-tribulation, and there are some events in the Middle East that look like the fulfillment of prophecy, and the rapture doesn't happen in that moment, do not be shaken. Do not be shaken, because there's going to be a great offense and a falling away if this happens the way I think it might. Many people will be offended and stumbled, and we could see some pretty stormy things happen before the rapture. Now, I hope the rapture is tomorrow. None of this can keep the rapture from happening, and I believe all that stuff will happen very quickly, and then the Antichrist will rise and smash whoever is the head of the coalition that starts that World War III. That won't be. I don't think it'll be the real Magog invasion, nor do I think it'll be the real Armageddon. I think those events happen during the tribulation. I think this is a precursor, and I don't know if we'll be here for it or not. And I'm not an expert on Bible prophecy, so don't, I don't know if I'm talking about Psalm 83, or some people believe that's already been fulfilled, and, maybe, anything that happens in the Middle East where there's explosions all around look like biblical prophecy being fulfilled. So at what level, though? I think they're going to do this at a level that's going to be pretty astonishing, because when Antichrist comes, he's going to put it down in a way that makes him look like God on earth. Well, I guess that would be the midpoint of the tribulation. So maybe all this is going to happen in the first 3 years. I don't know. But I do know that through this, whatever's coming is going to be blamed on the evangelical, prophetic, prophecy-watching Christians. We are the problem. Just like Iran, is apocalyptic and we say that's crazy, they're going to have the same view of us, because we influenced this administration that was willing to go to war, and that's just the scenario I'm kind of seeing brewing. And it's just a warning to remember that your faith is not resting on prophetic fulfillment of future events. Your faith is resting on prophetic fulfillment of past events, namely the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ. That's your faith. Everything else is a confirmation, but the real faith is based on a past event. Your salvation was secured in the death and resurrection of Christ. So don't be disturbed when things turn out to look like something biblical just happened and you're still here. You go, oh my God, I missed the rapture, right? Don't fall for it. Keep your faith simple and pure, and keep your hope on Jesus Christ, and don't look to the world for your cues, because they're trying to imitate in advance the real scenario. And they know the Bible, and they're definitely orchestrating their language and symbols and dates and everything they're doing to put it in your head that they're fulfilling prophecy. And I think the sheep are going to be wise enough, hopefully, to not be deceived by all that. All right, have a good day. I'm going to take my wife out for a movie or something tonight.